What's going on, guys? We're going to be going over a scan for the week of October 7th into October 11th. So let's get into that. It's going to be a really fun week. There's a lot of opportunity on the table. I just had a whole big review and almost like a little class about my week and what I messed up on, what I did well with. So yeah, I didn't recap all my trades, but I recapped a decent bit of them, and just the ones that had a lot of edge behind the charts. Even my loss, right? I still believe the Netflix chart had a big edge behind it. It's just I didn't manage it properly. So let's get into the scan now and talk about like the new charts for the week. I really do like SQ. You already mentioned this, Rick. I really like SQ. If you guys, I always like to take a look at the weekly before I go into the daily. Let's get rid of all like the intraday level junk. This is the previous week low. This is an inside week on the weekly. It's not really heavy volume relative to the rest of the chart. Volume dried out here at the bottom. This is almost like a similar schematic over here to, this is a big weekly level, by the way, and this is basically a similar schematic to what was the one that I was just talking about? D-Dog. And a lot of charts actually did show this. So whenever you go into the daily, all it really simply is this is a big weekly level. We got the breakdown, we got the retest, we got the daily wicks and the weak-looking closures on these days, and then we started to push our ways down. We pushed our way down into just where a previous weekly zone was. This is basically what this is, guys. This is a smaller time frame example of from here to here to here, as it is this being a larger time frame example of accumulation, spring, pullback, and then you start finding your last point of support down here, which is actually the August 5th candle. So this is a last point of support of a Wyckoff accumulation. Basically, all that is, in simple terms, is a higher low on the weekly, right? So you could pull fibs from weekly, swing high, swing low, just like I always do. 618 is your ideal spot. It's not a gauge for spotting a buyer immediately. It's just simply for a gauge of risk to reward and optimal fills. Okay, so this was your local level that broke down and then got the failure, got the pullback, and then got the higher low, and we are now expanding out of this daily trend. Okay, I don't really care about trends. I don't really care about EMAs. If you take a look at the EMAs, though, they're kind of established now with a claim and then a pull, almost like a wedge crossback. I hear a lot of people talking about. I don't really know what that means. It's basically just Wyckoff in a nutshell. And you get these moving averages that are kind of sitting really established tight moving averages off of a low a day, off of like the bottom end of a trading day, right? So that is a decent little gauge in terms of looking for the expansion to the upside. Whenever those start to coil, you would then be looking for obviously opportunity off of like previous trading day low, previous body. You'd be looking for potentially like your little gap over here. That makes a lot of sense. It doesn't really mean much, but it kind of does, because this is also in confluence to much bigger areas on the chart, like a big daily level, right? So if we get above that, we formulate some sort of channel with a secondary higher low from this higher low on the daily, right? So it would just be a low, a higher low, and then a third higher low. And then just a big daily level right over here. Pull out your EMAs. I mean, these are both just trading right off of that bottom. We also have this gap that's sitting from right over here. I can start thinking about my risk being off of like something basically like this. And then we go into the daily chart or the hourly chart, and then we start charting out like, okay, what does this look like? Okay, we have the opening print, we have the trading session high. We obviously have a potential crack in structure coming off of this little channel. I'm not a big trendline guy, like I said. It's just more horizontal levels, and all of these lower lows within this little channel, I guess you could call it. Let me get rid of this. This is annoying me. Are all being accumulated, right? So these aren't necessarily sellers. It's almost like a buyer releasing the bid and then just absorbing a little bit lower. and absorbing piece by piece by piece. Picture this is like, okay, at every single lower low, it's like you get hit with another jab in a fist fight. So this guy just has a way better jab than you, and he's bloodying up your nose, and he just hits you so many times to the point where like you can't breathe, and you have a... Never mind. Anyway, so yeah, this is a really nice chart. Does anybody have any questions about this chart before I move forward to the next? Because I am going to be trading this long. Long, long, long. Long only, no short. Daily bias is long. PANW. This is a nice chart. Someone just mentioned this. Honest work. Nice job, dude. Really nice chart. Has a lot of has a really. It almost reminds me of SQ a little bit. It's not really the same daily structure, but it's this big channel over here, dude. Huge channel. And a break of structure, a BOS, technically comes off of what spot? Pull up your PANW chart and tell me where the BOS comes off of. Does anybody know? And where does it's off of like a general range. Daily. So in respect to this channel, because there's no sell side, like break of structure is just break of structure on like this shit. You know what I mean? Because this is still buy side structure. Like this is still a markdown, and then they accumulate the markdown, and they took out this little swing low before that was established from before, and then they push it higher. And then this is micro distribution off of this bear gap over here. And then they pull it back for like a nice little pullback into discount on the daily. And then that's whenever they start to think about like reaccumulating. Now we just need to look for the break of structure on like smaller time frames. Or the daily chart. I mean, you could use the daily chart here. Well, guys, it's basically... looks good above this level. The break of structure is going to be off of like this level up here. Why? Because what's one of my laws? Technically the break of structure would come off of this spot. What's one of my laws though? If a level, guys, picture it like this. Mark higher, resistance. Mark down, big reaccumulation, shakeout. Mark higher, push lower, lose the previous resistance, but looks good. I still need it to get over this. Like this general resistance area. Because what's one of my big things about like distributions and failures and stuff like that? It's like a head and shoulders model, and that's why the head and shoulders model doesn't matter. It really does not, because this isn't like a head and shoulders. It's just the fact of us not trading above this level yet. And there is a lower high off of it. It's not just a random level, guys. There's a lower high right off of that, 345.41. So my eyes are glued to the chart. Is there any gaps beneath us? No. Do we look good on like this daily chart? Yes. Do we have this little trend line? I don't like trend line breaks because we have to get over this spot. That's my whole point. Is catching a breakout fill into this necessarily great with where QQQ is? I don't think this is our high or low. I truly do not think this is our high or low. I don't think this is Apple's high or low. This, however many days of support that was tested off of this, was the initial gap in opening print for this trading day. And then they tested it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. There's no volume. 5 times. Liquidation was coming off of this. And then that reappeared over here. We got a really, really weak day over here. And then from equilibrium, we're trading beneath equilibrium of the whole thing. 228. I think these names sell. I really do. Just a little bit. Just a little bit to develop a little bit better structure. I think they sell. I don't think there's enough inventory on hand over here for that holiday rally. I don't. So the flows are just going to kick in. They don't take immediate effect. Don't have a bias around that, please. But I really do like PNW as a long side trade. Right over 345.41. You could also take a look at like potential pullbacks for then bar by bar higher lows. So what I mean by that is we have our markup, we have our little channel, and then we're getting what looks to be like almost like the final point, almost like a last point of support. But do we need to take some sort of trade that looks like that and then take like a break of structure off of a previous lower high, something that looks like this? No, we don't need to fill here. We're here right now. We could look at a fill something in regards to this if the market looks good. While this is pulling back, this minor pullback that we could find for a potential bar by bar higher low would be something that looks like, I don't know, like something very minor. It could be very minor. I just think a bid is going to move up if the market can cooperate. I think a bid is going to move up on PanW, get a little bit more aggressive, and we're going to go test 355. Always going to have a gap target to the upside too, or just a resistance spot. I'm probably going to scale into this area if I catch a fill down here. I mean, these are kind of spready contracts, not going to lie. That would be an $11 move. It's funny because I don't scale a fucking $22 move on Netflix though. I'm still so pissed about that, dude. Was that dumb, guys? That was pretty dumb. Anyway. Extremely. The Django tells me how it is. I love it. Hey, we all need the criticism. That was EBT of me, definitely. That's how to not be a good trader, by the way. But we all make mistakes. It happens. I like making mistakes. I really do. Marvel. I'm trading Marvel. You guys should know about Marvel. Really nice upside focus. Really bullish peg, actually. Guess what we didn't fill? The gap. Guess what we have? Kind of almost like relative equal highs that are sitting right here. I think we push above those. I really do. If the market can cooperate. We have a big gap here on smaller time frames. We have a huge gap on a larger perspective of the earnings. And we're kind of just getting a dried up, coiled chart that's defending it. And then we have the upper extremes to the upside that look like they do need tested again. Like, I think Marvel is going to do this. It might do something like this and then finally get that, but I think we go up here to 78. And why? Does anybody know why? I'll give you a hint. Whenever I was all over consumers and Pepsi for a decent bit, like a couple weeks, whenever Nvidia was distributing, what is a similar concept here? Fletcher actually talked about the concept in general chat. It was with a different chart, but same general idea. Does anybody know? The spring at the bottom. So it's a very established range. This is a roll from Wyckoff. I I think we already put in our last point of support over here and like over here. It is very white coffee. Very good description there. Draw towards the gap and path of least resistance. Yeah, definitely. At the top, yeah. It's not really like a draw to the gap because this gap has already been filled and traded through. So it's not necessarily like to collect liquidity. It's just defense from this buyer who's going to defend and then put in the last point of support and then get to move higher. At least to this, in my opinion. 76.24 would be my initial target. Or just a resistance up here. So like maybe 75, call it 75, especially if I can get a fill at 72, 73, something like that. And then we have an overnight gap that's sitting over here. We have a couple spots where we can start thinking about taking, like I said, similar to Pan W, guys. What did I say about Pan W? I mean, it's just some sort of last point of support is already in. For them to move higher, get above 345.41, start looking at the gaps above us, 355. Same general thing over here with Marvel. I just want to see which one behaves a little better. D-Dog. I will roll profit on D-Dog. I really will. If we could get some sort of pullback that looks decent, I could take an intraday trade here. The spreads weren't actually too bad on my cons. It was like $120 contract, $120 on the ask, I believe. I can't remember what I exactly bought at, but it was like a $6 spread on like well over $100 contract. It's really not too bad. I'll roll profits on this. I don't necessarily know what the execution is going to be because the fills are getting way worse. I feel like it's kind of a bad fill, but like I have a bulk of my position on this still with time. Not the smaller time. Cut most of that. So two of my big focuses are going to be Marvel and PANW. Marvel is a semiconductor where you're getting signs of a big reaccumulation that's happening. I think AMD has room all the way up to 177.55. If you go take a look over at like AVGO, this has room for a new all-time high. You go over to NVIDIA. This looks pretty good. All of these just look pretty good. If the market wants to sell, I'll lay off the long side exposure until we dig a little bit more into the gap. So let's go into our sectors now and take a look. Disney's still nice. Not really a good entry anymore, but it's a nice chart. Not the prettiest of the weekly to look like that. Consumers look terrible. Discretionary. Why is TJX going crazy? Don't even know what that is, but energy. So I'm going to have a couple focuses around energy for sure. Some of these names are way too spready for me personally. Do I think these moves can continue? 100%. Probably going to re-enter on CVX. If I could get a pullback into like 149, 150, well, we're sitting almost at 150, but I need a pullback on this one, and I'll retrade it. Yeah, that's true. There has been war headlines. Financials had a really nice, strong move. I was short JPM. Didn't really go over this trade. However, the gap was met at the bottom of the target. If you guys, did you guys understand this trade? how I kept like shorting the pops on it. It's a nice trade. It wasn't anything like crazy in terms of a gain, but it was decent. I did go red a little bit on it, but I ended up going green, so it was cool. BA. I do like BA. You guys have been talking about this one. The weekly print's nice, and this has been trading elevated vol. Oh, we have earnings, dude. This is kind of like net, like, okay, we have enough room here to trade through the report. The volume is ramped since this trading day low. Is this necessarily a seller? No. Is there any clean execution to take this off of? No, but do I think it pushes into earnings? Yeah. It's almost like an earnings run-up trade. But like, oh, dude, see, this is one of them charts that it doesn't give us a good entry. But the weekly's nice. I don't know. It is a piece of shit, though. So I'm going to add this just in case. I'm going to take hymns off because I'm done with that. SQ is going to be a big one. Crowd potentially getting in again is going to be a big one. INTC. I think this is a wider perspective of accumulation. In a picture-perfect world, it would technically be just a bounce off of this daily level, which is also the gap. If you go into the hourly, it looks decent. Doesn't look crazy. Where's the draw to? Does anybody know? I just talked about it. The draw is always to collect liquidity off of imbalanced candles. Look at the hourly. Basically that. If you want to pull fibs from here to here, or you could do fibs from bottom to top. I would like a pullback here. But doesn't necessarily mean it's getting that pullback. So I'm going to watch at INTC. Long side trade. My short side trade, guys, is going to be QQQ in terms of like this targeting into the bottom of the gap. I'm going to be careful with it, but that's going to be my backup, as well as Apple. I think Apple is still a short, honestly. Do I think Apple can maybe also see upside that pushes us all the way into the top of the gap and then maybe redistribute, or into a new all-time high and then that seller just stays there and then you get a mark lower? Something that happens like that. It definitely could. I don't know what schematic is really going to play out here, but Apple's going to be on my watch. So let's get rid of all the noise on the chart. Let's dial in on just a couple areas on the chart that make sense. We don't really need this here. We don't need this here. Or are all these names just putting in that third higher low? You know what I mean? Like, some of these are still testing into those trends. So you get the low, you get the big signal within the market, then you get the higher low, then you get the defense of the mother candle, which is August 5th. Then you get the move higher. But there's gaps beneath us, there's gaps above us on a lot of charts. And some of these look like they're seller dominant from the upper ranges. So can we move our way higher to test those gaps? Yes, we can. And this could be a two-way trade. It really could. Could I still short this? I could. Is there any signal right now? No. Do I think if we get another high that fails, do I think that it's going to then further distribute into the earnings? It definitely could. Or could it run up and then continue the distribution off of the earnings? Yes. But bottom line is that we have a small window to play here until October 17th. We are in October 6th, so I really, it's not too attractive to me anymore, but I don't know. We'll see. We could go take a look at relative strength and just my little list that I have over here with some of these names. feel like AI can do something big. Etsy got hammered. Jeez. I think crypto is going to catch a bid, but I don't really like trading miners and. Ooh, Rivian. This will be my sympathy to the Tesla. Shopify's been beautiful, dude. Look at this. So yeah, that's gonna be it. It's not a big focus list for me. I don't know how you guys feel about some of these charts. I think they're really nice on some of them. Obviously, growth has a nice look on a lot of these names. SQ is probably going to be my focus for growth, just because I like the premium. I like how the contracts behave over there. Zoom, still a really nice weekly chart. It trades like shit. It's a nice weekly chart. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what this one does. Obviously, everything is subjective to how the market behaves and what it tells us. DDOG is, I think, one of the cleanest charts in the market as far as risk goes, as far as that Friday daily candle goes. And there's really nothing else that gives me a big conviction. So I don't know. I might find some more charts, but that's going to be it for today. I'm going to upload these 2 videos. Here's my focus list on the week as of now. I could probably get rid of Snow. These are going to be the tickers that I'm focusing. You could throw Apple in there. You can maybe throw... What's Google looking like? Not very good. Google day trade over 168.51 might be decent. I'm not too sure there. But yeah, that's going to be it. QQQ, potentially, if we want to sell, I think there's going to be one more higher low put in before we move our way higher to a new all-time high, which is going to be somewhere around 471.44. So I still have that level in mind as far as indexes go. And then I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the energy sector itself. And yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of analysis on this one. Really nice weekly print over here on energy. I think this move continues. I really do. So we're in a huge weekly level. Huge. So we'll see. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.